Hello, friends. Today's chapter of the day is Job chapter 30. And chapter 30 really kind of falls at the end of this initial discussion between Job and his three friends. They've gone back and forth. They're starting to kind of say the same things over and over again. We're certainly developing the arguments, but the arguments themselves are the same. Job is essentially saying, I know God's sovereign. I know He's at work here, but I also know that I've authentically sought Him, and I don't understand what's going on between God and me right now. And the friends are essentially saying, you're evil, bad things happen to evil people, stop being evil. So chapter 30 is about the end of that first discussion. Chapter 31 is Job's final appeal, sort of the summary of his arguments against his three friends. But 30 falls right before that, and 30 is really Job's rundown of his miserable situation. He's kind of just walking through, here's what's really bad about my situation. And we see it in really three parts. First of all, verses 1 through 15. And this is really poignant. Job talks about how hard it is that he's being taunted and judged and looked down on by people who are wicked, by people who are clearly unqualified to render any kind of judgment against him, and how that's particularly painful. And we as believers are going to see that in this life. We're going to be judged. People who pretend to be believers are going to look down on us and use the world's arguments to do that. And that's extremely painful because they're doing it apparently to the outside in the name of Christ. So that's the first 15 verses of this chapter. Then 16 to 23, Job just details his sufferings, the spiritual and the physical pain that he's in. And you start to see, again, Job acknowledging that this is from God. And then Job 24 to 31 is really where Job kind of brings together the harshness of his suffering by noting that this isn't even suffering that would happen to the lowest of the low. Here's what he says, 24 through 31. Surely no one lays a hand on a broken man when he cries for help in his distress. Have I not wept for those in trouble? Has my soul not grieved for the poor? When I had hoped for good, evil came. When I looked for light, then came darkness. The churning inside me never stops. Days of suffering confront me. I go about blackened, but not by the sun. I stand up in the assembly and cry for help. I have become a brother of jackals, a companion of owls. My skin grows black and peels. My body burns with fever. My lyre is turned to mourning, and my pipe to the sound of wailing. So what Job is saying is, I'm repenting. I'm broken. I'm crying out to God for help. And even wicked people, when they're down and destitute and crying out for help, we don't continue to attack them. Even wicked people don't continue to attack each other in that situation. So this is really the peak of Job's confusion about what's happening to him, particularly amidst his clear understanding that this is the hand of God. So kind of a sad verse or sad passage, but useful to us in that it shows a righteous man dealing with hardship. It shows us that even in the midst of this, Job has questions, but he doesn't hate God. He's not angry at God, or he doesn't do what a fool does and say, well, that doesn't seem fair, so I don't believe in you anymore. That doesn't even make sense, but we see it so often. So Job chapter 30, a really interesting discussion by Job, bringing together everything that he's suffering in advance of 31, where he's going to make his final argument for his three friends. So that's it. I look forward to your questions and comments, and have a blessed day.